You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Cabral Concept. It's great to have you here today on our Total Wellness Tuesday show, where we're going to be going over signs and symptoms of nutritional deficiencies. Now, they're nutrient-based deficiencies that are showing up on the exterior of your body. So as I like to say, the exterior of the body, the outside of your body, is an amazing indicator, basically a barometer for what's going on internally. So if we can't look at what's going on inside your body, an easy way for a practitioner or yourself now as you're learning this, to be able to know what's going wrong is to start to look at the signs and symptoms on the outside. I want to go through at least 8 of these today so that you can better understand what may be happening, what deficiencies you may have. And I'll teach you how stress plays a role in it, how the thyroid and adrenals play a role with it, your immune system and inflammation. So we'll go through all of those today. But I can tell you by the end of today's show, you will truly understand that nutrition, nutrients, and specific micronutrients are what keeps the body healthy. Now, are they the only thing? No, but it is the nutrients inside of your body, whether it be vitamins or minerals, amino acids, essential fatty acids, all of these things that we extract from food are literally what keep us well. Because they're what make up the hormones. They're what make up the energy in our body. That's what rebalances all the different inflammation or blood sugar dysregulation we have. So it always traces back to, are you deficient in something or do you have too much of something? Because you absolutely can. You can be copper toxic. You can have too much aluminum, too much mercury. You could have too much hormone. I mean, think about all the women we work with in our practice that have too much testosterone and too much estrogen. There's a lot of imbalances there as well. So it's always about achieving equilibrium. It's always about homeostasis, and it's giving the body everything that it needs to do its job. And today, you're going to see truly how vitamins and minerals keep the body working. It's also a great way for you to understand that when your local doctor, your PCP, your MD, someone that really hasn't studied nutrition, when they tell you, oh, there's no truth to vitamins, there's no truth to minerals, it's just something that's going to come out in your urine, where they literally have no idea what they're talking about. And I'm not saying that to disparage all of the amazing education that they do have. They do. But that's in pharmaceuticals, and it has nothing to do with nutrition. It's the exact opposite side of the spectrum. It's more a masking of the symptoms, relieving your pain, no doubt about it, but masking the symptoms, at least for a while. It'll come back. And what we're trying to do is say, yes, it's not going to happen tomorrow. There's no pill that's going to make you better tomorrow. But here's what we can do. We can find out what you're deficient in. Some of those are just signs and symptoms. And we can begin to replace those things in your diet and in your nutrition. So let's start to go through this a little bit on the side as well so that you know what to do as you're working through these deficiencies. So one of the ones that we see all the time come up in our practice is this. A lot of people right now, their hair isn't growing as fast as it should be, or their hair is starting to thin out, or they're starting to lose their hair. Now, for men, we know that there's a male pattern balding, and a lot of that has to do with the conversion of testosterone to dihydrotestosterone. Almost never, no one ever talks about it though in terms of stress, high norepinephrine and epinephrine. Nobody talks about it in terms of toxicity or heavy metals. All of those are vitally important as well. Plus, a weak digestive system may not be allowing you to break down the protein in order to rebuild all of the proteins in your body. which are your muscle, even bone, and your hair. All of that counts. You need all of those, and you need the protein extracted from that. So that's also why if you're not paying attention to protein in your diet, you can become deficient. You can't just overlook protein. Like there's a lot of trends right now. Like, oh, well, you don't have to worry about protein. There's plenty of protein in certain foods. Well, that's actually not true. There's a lot of proteins in those foods. If you eat a massive quantity of them, then yes, there is plenty of protein in that food. But we're all about being efficient, and we're all about being as healthy as we can. Really, really important. So the other, besides male pattern balding, because there's more to this, a lot of women and men, their hair starts to thin because they're deficient in certain minerals that both their thyroid needs as well as their hair. I'll give you some of those right now. Copper and zinc. We need both of those for strong, healthy hair. Okay? We also need vitamin D. We need biotin, which is in the B vitamin family. We need riboflavin, and we also need pantothenic acid. So we need vitamin B2 and vitamin B5. Extremely important. In terms of the thyroid, we need plenty of selenium as well as iodine. That will also help with drier hair because a lot of people with low thyroid, hypothyroidism, even if it doesn't show up on blood work, they have a functional deficiency or a functional hypothyroid activity in their body where their thyroid isn't producing as much as it should be, but it's within blood range. You can have drier hair, drier skin, a little bit more towards constipation, poor blood flow, more likely to gain weight. All of that can be because of lower iron, selenium, iodine. Extremely important to look at. The drier hair can have to do with a deficiency in vitamin A or omega-3s. Real important to look at that. Again, I spoke about protein. That's important to look at too. So a lot of people too, when they run a lab with us and we're recommending whole food, we're recommending nutritional supplements as well. They say, well, can I do it through whole food alone? I just heard someone say this the other day. They wrote and say, what about whole food? Shouldn't I be using more whole food? Of course you should. That's a given. It all starts with good nutrition. Absolutely. 3 solid meals a day so that you can get all the micronutrients you need. If you only eat twice a day, it may be a real challenge to get in 7 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables. That can be a real challenge. It's another thing where people are fasting till lunch and they only have lunch and they have dinner. Well, again, okay, but are you having 4 cups of veggies at each one of those meals? Are you getting enough protein? Are you getting 20 to 30 grams at each meal of protein? What about all your omega-3s and essential fatty acids? I'm telling you right now, it can be really difficult, especially since you shouldn't eat fruit with your whole food meal, unless we're talking about making a smoothie out of this. So these are all important things to look at. That's why in our practice, we do what works in the real world, like literally in the real world for long-term health. You can shortcut anything, but it could cause even greater issues in the future. So when people ask us, why would you use nutritional supplements? Can't we just heal this through whole food? Well, maybe not. Maybe not. But you can definitely do it with nutritional supplements and food. And the reason why I say maybe not with just whole food, because so many people have been stressed for so long, they're in the fight or flight. They don't understand that when they're in the fight or flight, when they're under high stress for a long period of time, it shunts blood to the digestive system and it diverts it to the limbs, your arms and legs. You get ready to run away or to run after something. That's fight or flight. Now, maybe you will never run away or run after something because that's not the stressor in your life, but it's still stress. And physiologically, your body is genetically programmed to pull the blood away from the digestive system. So people's digestion becomes really, really weak over many years of chronic stress. And most people are chronically stressed, right? I mean, you really are. A lot of people just won't admit it. Or maybe it happened years ago. Well, the problem is the digestive system doesn't always turn back on. Not in the same way and with the same strength. Or if you've been eating the wrong foods, or consuming too much alcohol, or taking a lot of Advil or ibuprofen, or you've taken antibiotics. The gut may not be balanced, or you've taken acid blockers before. All of these things do not allow you to properly digest your food. And if you can't properly digest your food, then you can't extract all of these great nutrients. So, is it better in the beginning to get the nutrients from your food and nutritional supplements? Yes. Does it work better that way? Hands down, absolutely. Absolutely. And then after 12 to 16 weeks, you can begin to taper down a lot of the nutritional supplement products you were using and simply maintain with your core foundational few. And then you can let whole food do its job once you've improved your digestive system. But you don't just get to eat the food and just say, oh, well, eat, digest it, go for it. No, it doesn't work that way. You need to make sure you're properly producing the right amount of hydrochloric acid, the right amount of bile, producing the right amount of enzymes from the pancreas. Make sure that there's the right balance of bacteria in your gut. Not too much candida overgrowth, not too much small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. All of that has to be working properly in order for you to properly break down your food. And then you need to make sure there's the proper peristaltic movement where the food can move through your gut, through your intestines in a normal 12 to 24-hour period. Too fast, you don't extract enough food. Too slow, it begins to ferment, cause excess bacteria, cause bloating, cause gas. So that's why the digestive system is an intricate system that must be kept balanced. And you can do that. You really can. So what I'm saying is I'm going to suggest whole food today, without a doubt. And I'm going to suggest nutritional supplements if you have any of these deficiencies. And it doesn't mean you're going to be on them the rest of your life. What it means is you're going to get well, finally feel alive again, get back that energy, and then you can begin to slowly taper. To me, you get the results, you get what you're after, and then you get to transition to a mainly whole food diet. That's the best way. I mean, that's what I've seen work in my practice. I would do anything that helps people get results in the fastest, but also maintain for the rest of their life. That's my philosophy. That's my goal. That's what I've seen work. So that was hair. Now, little rant right there, but we're through that. We're back on track now. Okay, so for the nails, a lot of people right now, again, they have maybe white marks on the nails. That's a really good sign, and I've done shows in this. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to link up my shows today at stephencabral.com/1215. That's today's show. stephencabral.com/1215. I'm going to link up my previous show on the nail diagnosis, and I also did one on tongue diagnosis along with the mouth. So I'm going to link that up today so you can go back and you can really get an in-depth nail diagnostic based show. And again, we're not diagnosing disease. We don't do that on the podcast. We don't cure disease. We don't treat disease. Remember, we're working at an underlying root cause level. But let me give you some highlights right now. White spots on the nails, typically calcium or zinc-based deficiency. Now, longer white lines spread across the nails. Some people have started to correlate it to potentially selenium. But I can guarantee you it's going to be more. Bodies get worn out. It's stressed, viral-based, zinc typically. Calcium second, especially white spots on the teeth. We'll get to that. And maybe selenium, but typically zinc. Okay. Not enough blood flow to the nails. It can make them look really light in color. Well, that could be not enough B vitamins, not enough vitamin C, not enough iron, not enough biotin. Think about blood flow. What about weak nails, soft nails, flimsy nails? Not enough calcium, not enough magnesium. Potentially what balances the thyroid as well, and that's iodine. All right, really important to look at that. And then sometimes for people they're having cuticle issues, a lot of peeling, it can be essential fatty acids. So it can be your omega-3s as well as potentially weak protein, not enough protein. Really important to look at that. All right, let's move to the teeth right now, the teeth and gums. A lot of people get bleeding gums. I usually see this completely remedied by increasing vitamin C in their diet. That's it. Remember, we're looking at scurvy as being total deficiency of vitamin C. Most people will never meet that in a normal, industrialized based nation. It's just not going to happen anymore. It's not. There's a lot of enriched foods, plus you're getting plenty of food on a daily basis. It's going to have some vitamin C. It's going to keep you from that, from your teeth literally falling out of your head. We don't want that, of course. But again, this isn't conventional medicine. We're looking at something between A and Z. Doesn't mean you're completely healthy if your teeth are not falling out. That does not what that mean. If your gums are bleeding, if they're starting to recede a little bit, if they're getting even more crowded, increase your vitamin C, increase your calcium, magnesium, make sure you have enough natural folate, some type of methylfolate. Okay, because a lot of this could be inflammation-based as well. So now there's a lot of factors in inflammation, right? There's omega-3s. It could be omega-3 deficiency. But the main ones in terms of nutrients, so that you understand what nutrients you may be deficient in, go back to vitamin C first, calcium, magnesium. Make sure you have enough of your activated B vitamins. Real important. Okay. Next up, let's move from the teeth right above that to the eyes. Okay. So a lot of people with dark circles under their eyes. Multiple causal factors for this. A lot of people say right away, well, it's your colon. Not necessarily. Not necessarily the colon. It could be. It could be for sure. But when I was studying Ayurveda, because I come from a long line of people in my family with dark circles under their eyes. Grandparents, my mom, myself for sure, one of my brothers, but not my other brother or sister, and not my first daughter, but my second daughter. So there is a genetic component to that. But I know that I'm not always saying, genetics, all that. But here's the thing. I studied in India. I asked, the questions that I couldn't figure out still, like what's with the dark circles, okay? Because it can be from stress for sure. It can be from lack of sleep, no doubt about it, right? No doubt about it. It can be from allergies. Okay, absolutely. All of that's true. But what's going on? And so I asked my doctor, this is actually when I was standing up a little further north in India, right around Dehradun, it's called, and foothill of the Himalayas. And I said, well, what is it? And he said, well, it's essentially a Vata-based disturbance, Vata-Ama, or Vata-based imbalance. And I said, okay, well, that makes sense. So Vata being circulation, Vata being air and oxygen, and there's a deficiency in that. So that makes total sense. So I was like, tell me a little bit more about that. I get it. Well, what could it be? Well, for a lot of people, facial structure-wise, maybe more towards that Vata-based body type, potentially, not always, because who you don't see it in almost ever is the Pitta body type, the Pitta face. Almost never do you see circles under the eyes. Interesting. So I'm looking at other things right now. I'm looking at pH of the body, of the tissues. I'm studying this pretty in depth. This won't be the last time I talk about this, but poor blood flow. So if there's a little bit of inflammation, I looked into it. If you have a little bit of inflammation in your body, especially if you had allergy-based issues, a lot of Vata people are more Th2 dominant, the blood vessels begin to tighten and or shrink or swell. That's a better way, is swell. And it doesn't allow for free blood flow. So you might see it worse when you get nasal congestion. You might see it worse when you have allergies, and I've noticed that as well. So when you look at that, you say, okay, well, that makes sense. So there's a biomechanical issue that's worsened with inflammation, allergies around that area. So, okay. So that's one part. That's one thing to look at it, because I know a lot of people have questions on this and they say, well, how can I make it better? Well, again, if you know it's inflammation, then ice will help, chamomile tea bags, all of that will help, aloe vera, cold packs, all of that, okay? But what else could it be? I mentioned the allergies, I mentioned the food sensitivities, but there's other things as well, okay? A little bit more too. Not enough B vitamins, that's crucial, not enough vitamin C. We've seen it a lot in our practice, okay? And of course, reduce stress. So important. I wanted to go over that. Very, very important. A lot of times we see the red lines in the eyes, right? In the white of the eyes. Well, again, increase your vitamin C, decrease your inflammation from any number of things. Real important. Up those antioxidants. All right. Let's move on. Besides the teeth and gums, let's move over to inside the mouth, the lips, taste, all of those things. Another thing that I see a lot is, what about canker sores? Well, canker sores inside of the mouth can often be viral based. I know it helps those. So it means it could also be a deficient in the body because there's a virus or stressor that's then causing the canker sore. So we know a few things. One, vitamin C right off the bat. The second one, hands down, is zinc. If you only did two, that would help tremendously. A third one we found is a bunch of B vitamins, namely niacin, vitamin B3, B12, and a natural form of folate. I don't like to say folic acid because folic acid is not very beneficial for the majority of the people out there with some type of methylation-based issue. On your genes, it's the MTHFR, right? So we look at that. That's important. Okay. Canker sores can also be tied to calcium deficiency. We don't see it as much, again, but the zinc, the vitamin C, much more prevalent, those B vitamins. All right, let's go over a lack of smell or taste. Big one. Depletion of zinc. Hands down, that is the one. I don't want to confuse a lot of one out there right now. Zinc is the number one, without a doubt. What about a swollen tongue? When I was 17 years old, my tongue was swollen inside of my mouth. Swollen inside of it. No one ever told me that oftentimes that can be a B vitamin deficiency, namely folate, niacin, and riboflavin, which is vitamin B2. Niacin is vitamin B3. The other one it can be, though, and I see this a lot with hypothyroidism, at least from functional-based levels of low thyroid, is iron. If you have a swollen tongue, if it looks kind of fat and swollen, it can actually be from not enough iron. And again, on your lab, you might be within range on your ferritin, your transferrin, your total iron binding capacity. They might all be okay, but they might be on the lower side. And for you, that's what's causing the hypothyroidism. So I want to look at that. That to me, very, very important. All right, let's go over a couple more. Let's go over muscles for the most part. Okay. What if you get twitching muscles? A lot of people twitching muscles. Okay. What does it mean? Well, it means that there can be something off with the nervous system or the muscles themselves. Actin and myosin are two of the properties within the muscles that are allowing them to contract and relax. So what do we know that helps to control those? Calcium, magnesium. So someone could be low in calcium, magnesium. Almost without fail, we give someone CalMag or full spectrum magnesium, 2 to 3 capsules per day. That goes away within a day or two. We can also do part of the deep sleep protocol to get them into a deeper rejuvenating sleep to reduce stress. What are a few more? Almost all of the B vitamins. B1, B2, B3, B6, and folate. Extremely important. There's another one, though, that a lot of people miss, and that's vitamin D. And the reason they miss the vitamin D is because the vitamin D is actually there to help with the uptake of the magnesium and calcium as well. So it's a potential, that's not the right word there, but I was going to say potentifier, but I would have just made up that word. So it increases the action of calcium, magnesium. That's what I'm looking for right there. Important to look at that. All right. Another one, I'm going to move to the side a little bit. And this is a big one. The little bumps on the back of the arms that a lot of people get, I want to bring this up because I'm kind of combining a lot of the questions I get on the weekend house calls. How can I combine this into one show? All the different signs on the outside of the body. Well, those little red bumps on the back of the arm. Oftentimes a deficiency in vitamin A. A lot of the times that's what we see, a deficiency in vitamin A. So you can increase your vitamin A foods and of course, take a good activated multi. Use the daily nutritional support shake. Kids can use a little bit of it as well. It's all right. That works. It's an easy way. It can also be just like overall rougher skin, drier patches. It can be vitamin A. It can be vitamin E. Those are important to look at, without a doubt. And vitamin C is a big one overall for the skin, for the hair, for the nails, anything that has to do with tissue rebuilding, look at vitamin C. Now, people always ask, can I use collagen? Yes, you can absolutely use collagen because it's what your body, what your tendons, ligaments, what your body's using in the skin, it's using collagen. But don't forget the foundation. And the foundation would be us getting back to those powerful minerals. Zinc would be one of them. We can add in selenium. And the vitamins, such as vitamin A and vitamin C. We know that these products work. Again, don't ever let anyone tell you that vitamins and minerals have nothing to do with it. I mean, some of the best skin products in the world are high in vitamin A. Why are they high in vitamin A using carrot seed and other things? Well, it's because they work. They work, plain and simple. Your skin needs that vitamin A for that vibrancy. All right, couple more. Wrinkles on the skin. So we'll stick with skin for one more second. So a lot of people look at wrinkles on the skin. They just say, oh, it's part of the aging process. Oh, it was just out in the sun too much. Yes and no. Yes, you're going to be, as you start to age, and I did a podcast on this as well, is how we move through kind of the aging process from our kapha time to kapha pitta to pitta to pitta vata and then to vata as we move through the different stages of life. And definitely tune into that podcast on the Ayurvedic stages of life. So here's the thing though. Okay. As we move into vata, definitely there's more catabolism. The skin doesn't turn over, doesn't rebuild as quickly, all of those things. No doubt about it. Okay. No doubt about it. That's part of it. Okay. But can we combat that? Yes, to a greater degree, the more that we work at it. One, we need zinc, number one. Number two, we need vitamin C. Again, they work hand in hand. We need all of the vitamins, so I don't want to neglect those. But also things like glutamine, the vitamin A I mentioned before, collagen-based products, get enough protein in your diet and enough antioxidants to squelch free radical damage, which is essentially what the sun would be causing as well, in order to prevent a lot of the breakdown within the skin. So all of that's really important. Again, manual of drainage, it all helps. And that's a great part of rebuilding the vitality of the skin. So even if you see some of the wrinkles now, well, you can work on that. And again, we have something called a beauty bundle. You can just check out what products are in there. You'll find the balanced zinc. You'll find all of the good nutrients that your body needs to start to rebuild the skin, to make it look more youthful. And again, these things are scientifically backed. Real important to look at that as well. All right, last one for today, weight gain. And I wanted to touch on it, okay? The reason why I want to touch on it is this. I just want to give you two areas of the body that we can see that directly correlate with specific imbalances in the body. The first one is adding belly fat. So if you find yourself adding more belly fat, it is typically in direct correlation with blood sugar and insulin. So you might say, well, I eat a low-carb diet, I do this, this, and this. And I say, okay, I get it, I understand, makes sense, right? Trying to lower blood sugar, okay. From the surface, I can see that. However, I've done many shows on this, many podcasts on this. Stress will spike your own blood sugar internally without you ever having to eat carbohydrates. And I did a video on this as well. I did a presentation on this. But you know what? I'll just link it up today. I'm going to have my team link this up at stevencabral.com/1215. And we will link up a video seminar I did on how this happens. Without you even eating carbs, your body can spike blood sugar and begin to produce more cortisol and produce more insulin, and how that adds weight around your stomach. So really important. So balancing blood sugar is important. Well, what do we use for that? We use chromium, we use vanadium, we use boron, we use a lot of great things. But what do we really need to do? Well, because again, we're always looking at foundation. What comes before that? We are looking at reducing stress, right? So whether it's a product like Adrenal Soothe that contains phosphatidylserine with ashwagandha, a little bit of rhodiola to balance energy and calming at the same time, all of that's vitally important, right? But reducing stress, reframing how you look at life. But that doesn't happen overnight, which is why we use good food, sleep, nutrition as you're beginning to use the material on the Mindset and Motivation Mondays to reframe how you look at life, to improve every facet of your life. That's what it's all about. All right. The second area, the last part for today, weight gain around the hips. Talked about it around the middle. Let's talk about around the hips. And I'll do probably a whole show on different weight gain in different areas of the body. But weight gain around the hips can often happen with elevated levels of estrogen. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Your levels of estrogen can actually be normal on blood work, but what happens is progesterone levels are not in the proper ratio. And this is called estrogen dominance. You can go to stevencabral.com/podcast, type in estrogen dominance. You'll find a podcast on this. It explains why so many women are dealing with lower mood, sometimes some acne, thinning of hair, bloating, lower ambition, drive, libido, and weight gain around the hips. And it happens from something called estrogen dominance. You can find out exactly what's going on in your body by running something like the Thyroid Adrenal Hormone Lab right at home. It actually shows you if you are in estrogen dominance. And it shows you if the reason you're in estrogen dominance is because of too high a cortisol production, right? It looks at your thyroid as well, your free T4, free T3, your TSH and TPO antibodies. It looks at your insulin levels, looks at your hemoglobin A1C for blood sugar. It does all that with an at-home lab test. So it's pretty amazing. But again, weight gain on the hips can often be indicative of estrogen dominance. And it's an important one because it doesn't just affect weight gain, it affects everything that I just spoke about. The bloating, sometimes the acne around the chin or jawline, the lower mood, lower libido, lower ambition, lower drive, want to sleep more, all of those things. And we don't want that. We want people to live their best life. So we can test for it, or we can begin to rebalance the body to get rid of that estrogen balance. And you can do all of those things without a doubt. Sulforaphane, cruciferous-based vegetables helps with the estrogen, all that. But remember, look to the foundation. What's causing that stress? What's causing that estrogen dominance in the first place? That's what it's all about. So today's show was meant to just show you that that nutrient deficiencies can cause a breakdown in the hair, the nails, the teeth, the gums, the eyes, the muscles and joints, the areas inside of the mouth, right? The skin, and also with weight gain. And that happens because your body's a living organism. I mean, try not giving a plant enough water, or too much water, or too little sun, or too much sun. It doesn't thrive, right? Well, the same thing happens with our body. The more processed food we eat, the more vitamins and minerals we get depleted of. The more stressed we are, the more vitamins and minerals we get depleted of. This is just what happens. I mean, this is how the body functions. And I'm just trying to pass this on to you because there's nowhere in school that they teach this. I found out the hard way. There's too many people out there finding out the hard way. Let's pass this information on to others. And it's so easy, honestly, even if you just did one thing. Even if you just woke up every morning, you did your smoothie, you put in 2 scoops of the daily nutritional support, you get every vitamin and mineral that you need for your body for the day. You wouldn't have to worry about all of these things. That's why I try to make things simple. I really do. I don't want your nutrition, your exercise, your supplements, your sleep. Like, I don't want any of those things to become your entire life. I want you to live your life. I want you to enjoy your life. But just do simple things, eating your 3 meals per day, getting the nutrients that you need, the 7 to 9 serving of fruits and vegetables, do one of the daily foundational protocols. Those types of things just make life easier so that you get to have the energy for all the other things that you want to do. That's what it's all about. Make it easy. That's really what I'm trying to pass along here today. So hopefully today's show has been helpful. Always just want to let you know as well that there's always an underlying root cause. There really is. So we talked about many of those underlying root causes today. It goes back to deficiencies. Signs and symptoms of deficiencies showing up on the exterior, but really where are those deficiencies on the inside, right? That's what it's all about. So hopefully today's show was helpful. I will link up many of the links over at stephencabral.com/1215. And as always, if it seems like the right fit for you, you can find lab testing, you can find nutritional supplements, you can find all those types of things over at equilibriumnutrition.com. Always your choice, whatever works best for you, whatever feels right, that's what I would do. But with the information, whenever possible, if this spoke to you, please do feel free to share it with one other person at least that you believe it could serve. Take care, everyone. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only 2 ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to stephencabral.com/rainbarrel.